What's up, fam? This is still the day the Lord has made, and we're here to rejoice and be glad in it. Hope everybody's blessed and happy. Hope everybody has a smile on your face. You know, we are in some challenging times. These are some tough times. Can't lie to you. Wouldn't even do that to you. And you know the truth. No need of me trying to gas you up to make you feel like this is not reality. Reality is things are tough. And just because I say what the reality is, it also doesn't mean I have faith. Again, just because I articulate reality does not mean I'm not demonstrating faith. You can deal with reality, but also faith allows you to transcend reality. So things are tough, but faith says that we can overcome it through the power of God, through hard work and using common sense. So it's a tough time, but I want you to know we can make it through this. Just be resolute, be strong. I still believe everything's going to be all right. I still believe that God is in control. Even when things seem like the world is out of control, I still believe God is in control. I want you to believe that with me. That there's a power that's much higher than the government, FEMA, WHO, or the CDC. There's somebody who's looking out for us, and we just got to believe and trust that. And I hope you do that day and put your confidence in that. I want to welcome you to Hope TV. Of course, you know we started this platform several weeks ago just to introduce some positive programming throughout the pandemic. And from March 19th, we had our first show. Now we've grown up to 17 flagship shows, and now what started out as an outreach to our immediate local community has now grown, and every broadcast is now hitting 50 to 100,000 people. And we're excited about that. So if you're watching now by Apple TV, by Roku TV, by our new platform, Twitch, if you're watching now by YouTube, by Facebook, Periscope, if you're watching through the church website or my website or the church app, however you're watching, hope you've been inspired. And if you're watching one, you consider subscribing to the channel so you can get notifications of when more content is updated, and also like the pages, and also send a link to somebody who you know may be in need of some inspiration. This is the Hope TV, and we hope that you are being inspired and encouraged, that you can have something positive feeding your spirit and your mind and your soul during these difficult times. This particular episode broadcast is called Mancave. We started Mancave Saturday morning meeting for our men of our church about 5 years ago, and my goodness, you know, we would have 300-400 men to show up on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock in the morning just to talk, just to unwind, to drop your titles, drop your position in the world. It's just brothers having a conversation. The Bible says how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. And sometimes in life it's hard for brothers to find a safe space to have an authentic conversation. And in those meetings, it's not about who the pastor is or who the bank president is or who the entertainer is or who the athlete is. It's all about just brothers getting together just to exchange and dialogue. And certainly we miss that space and miss having an opportunity for men to kind of glean from each other. Our church, House of Atlanta, is 42% men, and which is a pretty strong demographic considering African American churches are now about 22-25% male. So for us to have a church with a demographic over 40% is pretty strong, and we're excited about that. And I'm hoping that if you know a man who needs some inspiration, and it's not just for men today because you can learn from it, but if you know a man who wants some inspiration, just some conversation about brothers is so vital. So let them know that Man Cave is on the air. I gotta be honest with y'all, you know, confession is good for the soul. You know, I love the Lord with my heart. You know, been preaching all my life. And I love sharing these dialogues with you guys. I love having Bible studies, and we've been talking about mental health, and I love that, talking to the counselors. We've been feeding hospitals. I'm grateful to those of you who've been supporting us as we've been feeding the first responders. I thank God. We're talking about singles and married couples, and I appreciate all that. Don't get me wrong. I think it's positive ministry opportunities, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I love to learn and be fed, and we brought some major people aboard this platform the past month, and I've really been blessed by it. But that's one thing, y'all, that's one itch I have that has yet to be scratched. And y'all got to pray for your boy because I'm seriously having a hard time. And as you know, I love sports, and I'm having some major withdrawals. You know, I'm not doing well at all, y'all. I'm a sports addict, and I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of ESPN playing the same old 4 Kobe Bryant games. I just never thought I'd be watching NBA players play horse in April. I just never thought March Madness wouldn't be reality. I never thought, I'm serious. I'm having a hard time with this, man. And it's just not, I mean, I'm watching Kevin Durant play 2K on ESPN. Man, nobody. I mean, who? I mean, it's tough, y'all. But today feels a little better because we're in football season. Got some great football news. Something that's coming aboard Mancave, and that's some other sports lovers like me who grew up playing ball. And this is how we get our fixes. So I'm excited to have some conversation. We're not going to talk about Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. I don't want to hear about the Bible. Keep the Bible out of this conversation. We don't want to talk about God or Jesus. We want to talk about some football and some life. Y'all know I'm not being sacrilegious, but y'all get the point I'm trying to make. We got plenty of other programs to talk about the Bible. But this one, I want to talk to some guys who came up, who put the work in, and seeing that this is the NFL draft week. I'm excited to have this conversation. We got three brothers who all had a great opportunity to do some great things in sports. Of course, one is a native of Atlanta, played at Stone Mountain High School, and then went and got a scholarship and played in the league. And between the NFL and CFL, played about 9 years. We do business together, know him very, very well. I appreciate him being on. Cord Parks. What's up, Cord? How you doing, bro? Cord, you doing good? He must can't hear me. You doing good, Cord? All right, so he must can't
What's
hear
going
me.
on, man? Thank
He's
you for
got that.
having me back. Excited to talk about the game that we love. Yeah,
Well, I appreciate you, man.
doing good. How you doing?
You got your Teddy Riley spirit going on over there with your phone, or you need to get rid of that Metro PCS. But I'm glad you're on here anyway. Second brother's another native here of Georgia, and I watched him grow up and go to college and run track and seen him as he played for the Broncos and also played with the Falcons and just seen him just battle injury and very, very gifted. I'm glad to have him on here today with us today. Jordan Moore. What's up, Jordan? How you doing, bro?
Man, how you doing, big time? Pleasure being on here. I'm excited. You called me right before I was about to get to training, so this is a good conversation to have.
Well, good, man. Glad to be on here, man. And last but not least, this brother is actually the brother-in-law of our youth pastor, Pastor D. He's told me a lot about him and played in the league and made some great inroads. I think the last team he played for was the Cleveland Browns, I believe, and NFL veteran. And I'm so excited he took time, called him at the last minute. Good brother. He came on as well with Michael Grant Jr. Michael, how are you, sir?
Doing outstanding. Appreciate the opportunity to share. Appreciate this platform, man. This is good for us brothers just to be able to talk what we love, and that's sports, the game of football. Can't wait.
That's great, man. Thanks for being aboard. I appreciate you. Jordan, I'm going to start with you since I know you're still training and the youngest, man. I seen your journey. I seen you, as a member of the church. I seen you when you graduated from high school and running track and went off to college and transferred, and, from Texas to LSU. And just seeing, I've been watching your whole path and know you're still at it, man. Where are you? Tell me about your journey. How did you get to this point so people can know your story a little more?
Well, this year I'm playing linebacker. It's my last year on my rookie deal. I'm in the CFL this year, and I'm playing for the Toronto Argonauts. Just got traded probably like 3 months ago, at the beginning of the year. So it's a fresh start. I'm looking forward to it and just ready to ball, man. It's my second year at the position. Anybody that knows me knows that I can play the whole back end as far as like just football and stuff goes. And that was really one of the biggest things. I just had to hone in. So, these last 2 years, last 3 years, man, they've been phenomenal. What's funny that Cord is on the phone, man. Cord was the one, man. I remember my rookie year, I got cut from the Falcons. And, I was like, man, I ain't really have a lot of money. I really didn't have nobody to train with like that. And I always trained by myself. But I saw Cord at the park one day training some of the other guys. And I'm like, man, he doing some nice stuff. So, long story short, I had to get with him, man. He really played a big role, man, in my confidence. He hooked me up with one of his guys, Ruben, and man, Ruben always, every single day, man. It was like for like 2 months until I got picked up. I kept working out for teams. They'll tell me no. I come back and Ruben and Corey to be like, well, you got to keep training. You got to keep training. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna keep going. So that was a pivotal point in my life, man. Meeting those guys, and I knew Cord, from a while ago because he's one of the legends on the East Side. So, I already knew who he was, but to get a chance to train with those guys and get that opportunity, man, it was pretty dope, man. I'm not gonna even lie. No matter where I've been, I pay homage and pay respect to guys that came before me because they paved the way. Um, as far as We can start at high school, you know, keep everything brief. And coming out of high school, I was pretty big, highly recruited. I was 4-star, 3-time state champion in Georgia in track. I was All-American in football and track. Went to college, went to TCU. Things didn't work out. I played like 6 different positions, man. Like I'd never played safety there, and I was like the top number 4 safety coming out of high school. Like I was in Landon Collins. Me and him are in the same class. Never played safety. I played corner. Then they moved me to linebacker. Then that after that first year, that freshman year, I tore my ACL. Was out like 4 or 5 months. Came back, played running back, had a great season. Then they changed my position that third year. I had won the Big 12 championship in track and field, and they changed my position to wide receiver. Like they had a new coach coming in, was like, you moving to receiver. Man, at that point, I was just like, man, it's football for me because I kept winning on the track, and I was like, man, I'm just going, I don't know. So we won the Peach Bowl, and I went to LSU. My coach from LSU, they let me come there, and I was like, man, I just want to run. And then I got down there, and I saw all my boys that I was highly recruited with, and I'm like, dang, like I still want to play. So everybody knows him, Jamal Adams, man. He played an influential role, and a lot of other guys too. My track coach down there, he was a football guy. He had did both. He had done both, and I was like, man, that's how I always saw my career. Kept coming back home, coming to church. I know you saw me in between time, Pastor. Like it was highs, it was a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of family stuff going on. But you know, it was just those little sermons. Like I would come back and you would be like, you know, you gonna make it. And then like every year, it would just be something. Like I would come to church a good little bit, but it'd be like that one time that I come back that I'm only in town for like 3-4 days, and you know, you like, hey man, like you just say something very inspirational, and you know, I left there after I won the SEC championship, went to the Olympic trials. I graduated from LSU 2 days after graduation. The SEC told me that they weren't going to allow me to play my last year of football in the SEC. They had promised me, they said, you graduate, you can do it. They said no. My coaches from LSU went to University of Texas San Antonio. Coach Frank Wilson. He's one of your brothers too. He's one of the bros. Um, and he gave me an opportunity to come over there and play, and he told me I could play safety. He kept his word with everything. Nothing was easy. Nothing was given. I fought for it. I came like the second week of camp, and that year I went All-American at safety. So, you know, my journey going through college and high school was pretty hard, you know, but it set me up for right now. You know, they say that a lot of people, they only play 2 years. Well, I'm on year 4, going on year 4 right now, and I feel like I'm just coming out of high school. Not high school, but I feel like I'm just coming out of college. Like I feel like 21, 22 again, and I'm only 26. But you know, it's just amazing, like the path, the journeys that God takes you on. Everything's full circle. You know, the guys that I work out with now, all the big time guys in the league. So you know, birds of a feather, they flock together, and you know, I know moving forward, things are going to be phenomenal. I look forward to being one of the best to ever do it, one of the best backers in the game, one of the best football players in the game. So, you know, I just want to say, you know, to everybody that's from Atlanta, from the Atlanta area, that's helped me, that's looked out for me, Pastor, Cord, you know, I'm thankful. I know a lot of people don't see me much, and I seem pretty put up, but when y'all don't see me, just know I'm grinding and I'm praying and looking out for everybody, you know, and I'm thankful. But yeah, that's pretty much my story in 4 minutes.
That's great. That's great. I'm gonna change pace a minute, and because I want to connect you in court, but I want to go to Michael for a second. Michael, you are Pastor D's brother-in-law, and he's told me a little bit about your story, and I want to hear about your story, your journey, where you're from, and just your path to get where you are now.
Absolutely. So obviously everybody has a story, and it's amazing how everybody's story is unique. I guess something that we all kind of have in common is I'm originally from Atlanta, but family moved down to Columbus, Georgia, when I was just a toddler, and of course went through Muskogee County School District system and went to a school called Shaw High School, which at the time in the late '90s we were doing really well. Matter of fact, in the early 2000s we won a state championship in 4A football, and that was just after I went on to college. But uniquely, 2 things were always consistent in my life, and that's church and sports. And I was always that kid that was tug along with my football pads in the car, running into Bible study late because both my parents were working full time in ministry. And, I got to see the best of both of those two worlds kind of come together. And it was my faith from being raised in the church that really drove me to be able to have whatever successes I had in the game of football and sports in general, because Lord knew I needed it. I was never the most talented. I was never the biggest. I was never the strongest. But two things nobody could beat me at, and that was effort and attitude. And, man, I was able to go get offered a scholarship to play ball from a few 1AA schools, FCS schools coming out of high school, and made the decision to go to Grambling State University. And I was the first recruiting class of Doug Williams, former Super Bowl MVP, black quarterback to win the Super Bowl MVP in the early 80s. And my defensive coordinator was actually Todd Bowles, who was on that same Super Bowl winning team. And both of them, of course, are doing major successful things in the league now, in front office and in coaching. But those guys poured into me. I was able to learn the game under their tutelage, and was fortunate enough. I actually left Grambling after 2 years and came closer to home. There were some things going on with family and ministry that, of course, me being that church and sports guy, I wanted to be able to assist in both veins. So I actually withdrew from school completely for a full year and was serving full time in ministry. And man, you can imagine everybody was like, man, Mike done lost his ever-loving mind. You had a scholarship to play ball at Grambling, one of the most prestigious HBCUs in history, being coached by some of the best there was. This dude done lost it. He done lost his mind for Jesus. But I was just following my faith. I was following what I felt to be direct in my journey at that time. But I still believe that God had something for me through this great game of football. And so, man, I actually we had a couple different locations church-wise. Our family did, and one was up in Asheville, North Carolina. And there's this school, I promise you, I had never heard of it prior. It was called Mars Hill University. At the time, Mars Hill College, now Mars Hill University. And I was like, well, man, I could enroll there, play a little ball, and do what I feel is in my heart to do to help my family in ministry. Man, that coaching staff, I didn't know that they had been recruiting me. One of the coaches was from Columbus, Georgia. He was on the coaching staff, and he was like, man, we didn't think we could get you. We were a small D2 school, so we didn't even try. I was like, well, I'm here. I'm willing to play. If y'all will let me do my church thing and let me play ball, I'll work it out. So, man, I was able to complete my degree, get a bachelor's in business administration, and continue serving in ministry. And man, it fared out so well. Again, that hard work, which of course was what Jordan mentioned. If you ain't got grind about you, one of my buddies in coaching says, if you ain't got willing to put in no sweat equity, then you don't got a chance. And that was just in me. You know what I mean? Willing to put in that work, coachable, teachable, and had a great attitude. And so, man, I had an opportunity to play in a Division II All-Star game called the Cactus Bowl. Was a honorable mention, All-American, coming out of Division II. And long story short, signed as an undrafted rookie free agent in the early 2000s. Uniquely, speaking of draft day coming up today, man, I believe every draft player today is going to experience the draft like I experienced it, which was just me in a room waiting to see if I was going to get a call. And man, it was a pretty cool experience. Played a little ball with the Browns, as you mentioned. I was kind of like Jordan, you mentioned, I was one of those guys that only played for a couple seasons, got away, jumped back in full-time ministry, which I believe was my passion and my calling anyway, and even got to use my experience as a former player. I was a pretty smart football player, played a lot of special teams, but caught on to systems and concepts real well, and that fared out to when I got into coaching at the high school level. I was able to even intern with the minority coaching internship during the summer with when Todd Bowles was head coach for the New York Jets, and even coached under Bruce Arians when he was in Arizona. Some good guys down here from Columbus, Georgia, like Brinson Butler, Tim Walton, those guys who are coaching now. I was able to stay connected and get exposed. And honestly, speaking about how football trains you and equips you for life, man, the attention to detail that's mandatory to succeed at any level in the game of football is what I believe has taken me to another level, from being good to great in my sphere. and being able to, be able to acknowledge things and catch on to concepts and lead people. Because, as a football player, if you can't lead yourself, you're definitely not going to be able to lead others. So, man, an amazing experience, an amazing journey. Excited to see what today is going to bring, and beautiful to hear you guys' story as well, man. It's a blessing to be able to see that fellowship of the shield, that brotherhood, like you mentioned, Pastor.
Oh yeah.
Mike, it's amazing to have the story, man. I had one of the guys who was going to be on here today and couldn't get him on in time. I had a business thing to come up, but he's actually from Columbus as well. He went to
Oh,
Carver
wow.
High School and
Okay.
went to Auburn. His name was Rod Hood, and Rod also
I
played.
know, Rod. That's my boy. Ain't
Mm-hmm.
no doubt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Rod
Yeah.
played with Arizona and just trained. So Rod was supposed to be on here as well. I tease him all the time because I was a quarterback and a wide receiver, and I told him I could beat him. So he couldn't be on here because he was going to be on the call on our show as well. So that's great.
I'm gonna call him afterwards and tell him that you said you were gonna put that work on him back in the day. I'm gonna see what he said.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he ran a 4.3. I ran a 4.4.45. So but I never told him what I ran. So I know I couldn't beat him, man. That's a long time ago.
You ran a 4.4. Okay.
Yeah, I ran a 4.4.
I like
Four,
it.
four, four, five. Yep,
I
yep.
like it.
Yeah, so been a long time. So Cole, here's what's amazing. Here's what's amazing. How it all comes together. We wanted to reach out to Jordan last night. Man, you and I were doing some other stuff, and we've been working together doing some things, and you know how we fund each other. And who would ever imagine that I never knew you knew Jordan or whatever, but how God puts it all together. And then the producer called me and said, "Man, I got Jordan and Cord," and then to get both of you on the phone, on the show, and y'all know each other, man. So amazing. So tell us
Yeah.
about your journey, Cord.
Yeah. So, it's like you said, the uniqueness and the stories behind everybody's journey. And so I went to Stone Mountain High School, and from there ran track, played football there, had some success, and was recruited similar to everybody else. I had a couple of smaller 1A programs, but then some 1AA programs came in. But I ended up attending Northeastern University. And the reason I chose to go there was due to the fact that every other school that I went to, they were not going to allow me to major in mechanical engineering and play football. And as the fellas can probably attest and say, when you are being a student athlete and in the football world, they say when you have your meetings, they say pay attention to my hand. Football first, school second. And they kind of do a flip on it to make you pay attention to what's going on. But that was a big reason and decision for me to go to Northeastern University. And also Northeastern was going to allow me to not only major in mechanical engineering, but play football and run track. Well, the issue was for me was I coached through high school academically, but due to the fact of that, like I didn't have good study skills and all that kind of stuff. So when I got to Northeastern, I really had to tune in to studying. That was the first like gap for me, that bridge. Like, okay, I can't just skate through this. I can't just do the typical do your work in class and go back home and have the rest of your day. So I actually ran into my first little bit of hurdles once I got there, because I wasn't used to having to study and put things together. But was lucky enough to have success. I stayed on academic probation my whole entire time at Northeastern University. But luckily I had track. When I ran track, I actually had people who were in track who were in the engineering program. So that helped me out a lot, being able to, study and starting to learn how to do stuff. And like I said, I had success. I ended up playing both ways at Northeastern. I played cornerback was my main position, but I also played a little bit of receiver. So my junior year, I did a mini pro day where I had the Rams, the Bills, and a couple other teams come in and do a workout for me. And with me being a track guy, I was able to excel at the 40. Well, my senior year comes around. I had a young secondary. We didn't play well as a team. scouts were coming to the games, but I was like, you know what, I don't really think, and I kind of had lost that love and that passion for the game just due to how most of us can say that these recruiters in college will do anything to get you there, and then when you get on campus, it's a totally different person. So I started to really not like football, and the unique thing about Northeastern was they allowed us to a full year of it's a 5-year institution, so 2 of your semesters you will get a chance to co-op and work in your industry. So I did my first co-op earlier, like in my sophomore year, and then my senior year after I finished, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna see what the engineering industry has to offer for me. I come home, I end up getting an internship at Delta Airlines working in their engineering department, and I started training. And it's funny because I wasn't training the way I was supposed to, and my mom, she was like, have you been working out? I'm like, nah, not really. You know, I've been doing a little something. And she was like, I got a feeling you're going to get a call and you're not going to be prepared. So fast forward, we go to draft day, and I'm watching the draft, and I'm watching guys that I competed against and all that kind of stuff. I'm a little upset. I think it was the final day, and we're watching, and I think the final guy that goes off the board was a guy that I played against at Richmond, because we were a 1AA program. And I'm upset. I leave the house. I go to, it was East Atlanta Day, and I never forget, I'm out riding on a 4-wheeler. I get a phone call from a 314 number, and I'm like, I get in the car, I check the phone, and it's a voicemail from the scout who worked me out the previous year. I immediately go into a panic, and I'm like, oh, I haven't been working out. I call my mom. I'm like, yo, they just offered me to come in on a rookie contract to the St. Louis Rams. She's like, I told you. So fast forward that year, I go in, I actually make the team. I'm on the practice roster for majority of the year. And then Coach Steve Spagnuolo finds out that I think Laurent Robinson, he goes down and he finds out that I play receiver. So they move me to receiver to finish off the rest of the season, and I get put on the active roster, finish off the season that way, and then that following year I get cut because they brought in some. I decided I wanted to go back to DB, and then I ended up having an impact on a coach who was like, "You can play in this league, you can stick in this league." He was like, "If you ever get cut from here, be the first one to call me." So I call Art Valero. I never forget. I called him, and I ended up 2 hours later getting signed to play with the Seahawks. Went up and down on their roster for the first 6 weeks of the season due to a shoulder injury and me not knowing better. And I had an opportunity to go play for the Patriots. That's one thing that I say I kind of regret in my career. I went back to the Seahawks instead of going to play for the Patriots. I went up and down on their roster for about 5 weeks, and then the rest of the season I was back at home training. Then I ended up signing with the Minnesota Vikings. Spent a year and a half there. Injured myself, took an injury settlement, went to the Saints, and then ironically ended up going playing in the UFL. And then I get there, play one game, that league folds. So I ended up coming back home to Atlanta, and it's crazy how God works. I ended up coming back home. At this point, I'm financially stretched. I end up moving back in with my parents, and this God really sent me back home to be with my father for his last few months. And I literally signed my contract into the CFL on the day that my father passed. My father passed, and I literally got a call from the CFL team maybe like 5 minutes after and said, hey, we're going to bring you up. And how the transaction kind of went down was how it works is your rights are owned by another team. So I was actually on the Toronto Argonauts, but BC Lions traded me before I even made it up to the CFL. And from there, I had major success once I got up there. I was the interception leader that year. I could have been rookie of the year, but due to the fact that I had playing time in the NFL, they wouldn't allow the rules and stuff like that. But had a lot of success once I got up there, and then spent 3 years in BC, and then went on to the Edmonton Eskimos, and just been able to fellowship and really build my training program, because a lot of my passion came from during the time when I was going up and down with teams. I got financially stressed and couldn't even, like, similar to what Jordan said, I couldn't afford to pay a trainer. And I never forget Ernest Ross. I told him, I said, hey, if I can't afford to pay you right now, but if you allow me to tap in and work with these young kids, and it started helping me mold my transition in my life out of football, which, you know, I'm working in in DB One-on-One, which is my company, which I specialize in defensive backs, as well as working in entertainment management right now. So the ebbs and flows
Awesome.
and the game of life, I call it, it's taught me a lot.
You know, you guys got all unique stories, and I just love to hear about the stories and the journeys, and you know, it's amazing how it all applies to life, and to see how Cord, you and Michael, you know, have transitioned to something else, and Jordan is still in it, you know, and I know you guys got encouragement, but while I want to see what kind of what kind of advice? What do you say to Jordan, Cord, and you, Michael? I start with you, Michael. What do you say to Jordan? Because I think Jordan represents the world, and he represents a lot of people. But you all represent the world, but I think right now his story is unique because he's transitioning, you know, new position, you know, trying to figure it out, you know, in college all over the place, from wide receiver to DB, you know, now linebacker. And I think that's the way a lot of people through this pandemic. I think a lot of people having to figure it out. I mean, it's personal restart for a lot of people. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael, what would you say to Jordan? And as you're speaking to Jordan about as he's still growing and evolving into something relatively new, you also speak to those who are watching. What do you say to the Jordans of this world,
Yep,
Michael?
absolutely. First of all, I say I applaud you guys because y'all are gifted. You got a chip on your shoulder, and you believe you can conquer any mountain. And so, being able to take that same mentality and use wisdom to be able to get all you can while you can. We all know that football is a young man's game. You know, I'll be 40 this year. And you know, I always thought people were just lying when they say, "Man, you feel different." It just feel different. Well, on top of the amount of time I played from high school, college to pro ball, you know, you do feel certain things, but with wisdom, the knowledge, the science that's made available, and just the good old, like you said, Pastor, common sense of knowing your body, being able to maximize that, knowing your worth, knowing what you have to offer, you know, and you know, planning for the future while you're in the prime, athletic prime of your life, I believe is key. Being able to make, create, and protect your brand, I believe is really important, not only for athletes like Jordan, but for men in this world, especially minority males. We gotta, you know, sometimes it's said that we're behind once we press play, tongue twister there anyway, but being able to know that you can't do everything that everybody else does, or you can't find yourself in the same predicaments that everybody else finds themselves, but being able to take the most of what you've been afforded and make the most of it. And then with it, realize that you're not by yourself, that, you know, phone calls that you can make to guys who've been there, who've done that, successful people, surrounding yourself with successful people in general. You know, some guys didn't play professional, but I mean, to be able to get on the phone with somebody like Edouard Smith and pick his brain of how to maximize where you are as a professional athlete, I think is priceless. So being able to, like I said, maximize where you are, know your worth, know your value. Man, I commend you on coming to a place of completing that first contract. You know, now it's about time to move into payday. You know,
Man.
so you know,
Mm-hmm.
don't take any less than what you're worth, because they ain't short on money. That we are for sure on. You know, shortage on funds. So and the position, knowing I love that you're willing to take that linebacker position, because now the game is fit for that smaller, more mobile thumper type of linebacker who can cover. You're a commodity now. And so, you know your worth, know your value. Don't think too high, but definitely don't think too less of yourself. And get your worth, man. Get what your value, is due to you. Because one thing for sure, once it's over, you can't go back and get it. People ask me,
Nope.
man, Mike, you know, I know you left ball and went into ministry. Are there any regrets? And I honestly say, no, there's no regrets, because I believe it was a calling that was on my life. I'm walking in my purpose. But the question that I ask myself internally is, boy, if you could have squeezed out a couple more seasons, got a couple more of them checks. You know how it is when you go in the locker room on Wednesday and they playing money, 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 money. It's payday. So, but I mean, you can flip that and invest and build to a more stable future. And so I believe that would be my advice to you, man. Get all you can while you can, and honor God as you're going through the process.
Yes, sir.
That's great. Cole, what do you say to Jordan and the other Jordans in this world? As pressing the restart button, when they come through this pandemic, got to figure something new out. What's your advice, Cole?
I think my biggest advice would be just to piggyback off what Mike said is treat yourself as a business, man. When you understand that you are essentially your own independent contractor, and the more you treat yourself as a business and as your own entity, and start to understand the business of the game and the business of how things work, you will start to see and understand how this thing works. Like he said, they don't run out of money. They depend on us as players, not thinking like businessmen. They depend on us as thinking as players in the moment. And I think that's the toughest thing is when I come off the field and I'm putting on my business hat, when I'm going in to talk with that general manager, or when I'm talking to my agent, or when I'm talking to my business manager, it's like, hey, don't let someone take full control over your business. And it happens so often, man. And it's never you're never too big or too little. Once you step into the Shield and the CFL and all these different brands, we have to learn how to flip this and use their leverage to build us up. I think a lot of us look at it, we like, oh, well, I'm not a starter, or hey, I'm on the practice squad, or hey, this is the situation. When in actuality, you are a brand, and the bigger you make your brand while you playing, you can catapult yourself out of sports into another level. And like I said, I just feel like a lot of guys don't look at the business side of it and start to take this thing as a business. Like it ain't. It's I I recall my negotiations with my general managers, and like he said, really having to go in there and sit and read different books on body language and contract negotiating, and really having to like take ownership of my business because I felt like my agent wasn't doing it at the time, and some of the people. So it's like holding people accountable and reaching out, having these conversations, like he said, tapping into your network, holding people accountable who say to you while you're playing, hey, if you ever need anything, make sure you give me a call. Like really holding those people accountable, because while you're playing, guess what? If they want tickets, they gonna call you. If they want a favor, they gonna call you. So I've learned to just, make advantage of your network and really tap into those people and ask questions, and really take the time and spend the time as a business and start looking at yourself as a business. And like I say, tap into your network and make sure you're using your resources, because there's a lot of guys out there who've been in the position, who have information, who can help on knowing your worth, because nobody can tell you that. Your performance, what you put into it. I tell my guys all the time, during the off season, when you've been training, and when you've been doing what you're supposed to do. It's just like when a person works, they expect for that money to be in their bank account, and they got confidence that when they go purchase, that money gonna be in there. When you've been hot dogging and BSing around and you ain't been doing what you're supposed to do, on game day, on contract negotiation time, during that time that it's gonna be a little shaky. So
Yeah.
put into I treat the game like you put what you put into it is what you're gonna get out of it. And that would be it, man. And especially for our younger guys that are watching, high school and college, man. Treat yourself as a business, even in high school. Social media, all this kind of stuff. Take advantage of these resources that you have, because me and Mike can attest for it. Like, we didn't have the opportunity where we made a play, it was instantly like up and available. Take advantage of these platforms. Take advantage of these social media strategies if it's going to help you with your recruiting. If it's off the field strategies and stuff like that, because it's a lot of equity in that as well. As we talk about all the time, Pastor Smith, like, it's so much in the digital age now, and we can really take advantage and take this narrative and have ownership of everything that we're doing. So that, I think that would be the advice that I would give.
That's great. Jordan, I want to ask you a question. Jordan, you told us your story, your journey. What are some of your biggest lessons you learned, Jordan, and some of your biggest challenges right now? Some lessons you learned and some of your biggest challenges now.
Okay, let me say, I'll start with the biggest challenges. To me, there aren't too many challenges. I think I took it super serious. Maybe unlike other guys that had the opportunity to be drafted, but me, I knew the chances were going to be slim. I knew the talent and the work ethic and the knowledge of the game was there, but it was all about opportunity. Currently, I know Corey was talking about agents. I don't have an agent because until I find somebody that I can rely on, that looks at me and my career like myself and goes into there and talks to the GM myself. Like, I talk to the general managers myself now, because I remember there was a point when nobody would speak on my behalf or wanted to speak on my behalf or thought I wasn't what I knew that I always will become. So I had a lot of my own business. I'm about to launch my brand and my apparel. I finally got my platform to where I feel like I wanted to be, and this year is just going to be great. The brand is called 30 Game. My Instagram is JMoIM. They can go check it out in the next couple of weeks once football gets back rolling. Um, but yeah, not too many big challenges right now for me. The only challenge is, I love working out every day. So the biggest challenge for me is finding a way before the season not to burn out and, just become who I need to become and just stay free. One of my biggest, I think, like role models from afar that I study. One guy is Ray Lewis in his career, and another is Tom Brady. I like the way that they, like Corey said, brand themselves. So I try to formulate my formula and my system, like kind of after those guys, because it's about longevity. It's about the long game. I'm in multi-level market and things like that. I know he was talking about transitions outside of football. So it's a lot of things that I have going on behind closed doors, and I want to eventually, even while I'm playing, become a sports agent, because I know a lot of guys where we're from, they're super talented, but nobody's really giving back to him. There's not enough cores in the world. There's not enough E. Dewey Smith, There's not enough Michael Grants in the world that can go back and tell them. So, that's something also that I'm working on behind closed doors. But, not too many big challenges, man. I kind of like eliminate those out of my life, and I stay focused on exactly what I need to stay focused on. What was that other question one more time, if you don't mind?
What are the biggest lessons you learned so far?
Wow, biggest lessons I've learned. First, financial literacy. I know a lot of guys today and the next couple of days they're about to come into a lot of money, and the thing is financial literacy, saying no, and I just start with those. With the financial literacy piece and saying no, you're gonna have a lot of people come around you that they don't mean you any well. I say this, I go by the 5 friends rule. Whoever your 5 friends are, the people that you spend the most time with, the people you talk to on a daily basis, those are the people that are showing you this is where you're going to be in life. The 5 guys I hang around, they or talk to on a daily basis, they the top guys in the league at their position, or they're doing something highly influential as far as like in the business world. So, every day I wake up early in the morning around like 3, 4 a.m. and work on stocks with some of those guys, if I'm not too tired from working out. So, I have a set regimen of ideas and things that I bounce off to other guys. But financial literacy and saying no, because a lot of people are going to ask you for a lot of things that sometimes you don't have, because sometimes this lifestyle will make you look like you have more than what you have or less than what you have. Just depends on where you at. But at the end of the day, you just want to keep good people around you that can teach you, bring knowledge to you, and give you a platform just to go further than where they were, or where you are, the people that came before you. Just environment. You got to be in the right environment that's conducive to you being successful. You know, a lot of times, like I'm in Miami right now. I love Atlanta, but sometimes I can't be in Atlanta because I know how much I love Atlanta. I know how I was raised in Atlanta. And it's super fun. But when it's time to focus, you need to learn how to get away from certain things and detach from the world and just lock in and go into that phase so that you can become successful. Um, what else can I say? Uh, Really, those are some of the biggest lessons that
That's
I've learned.
powerful.
There's more. Faith wise, your faith is going to be tested. The biggest thing on this road is you know, only thing that's really promised on this road I keep in my head all the time is adversity. So every day I wake up prepared. Okay, look, I'm prepared. I got the armor on of God. I got everything. I'm prayed up. I wake up before the devil. And that's what I tell him. I wake up before him so I can beat him to the punch with everything. You know, I can see everything from a bird's eye view before it comes. And yeah, that's one of the biggest things, man. Your faith, your finances, and your friends. Them the three things I'm gonna stick with right there. And saying no, and your family, man. Really keeping your family close, because you know a lot of people. I say this to the young guys, they think it's about the women. They think it's the cars, the money, the clothes. Those are things. Those are things. Those are liabilities, not assets. Assets are what you buy: houses, you know, land, things like that. Businesses that are going to generate revenue and money that allow you to buy those things. You know, not taking your game checks and going to spend it on chains and things like that. Because at the end of the day, you can make 10 million a year for 4 years, but if you live a $10 million lifestyle for 4 years, 10 minus 10 is zero. So at the end of your career, you're gonna be broke. So that's how I just look at everything. I do it from a mathematical standpoint and just, you know, let my heart and my spirit lead me. And at the end of the day, I know 10 years from now, man, I'll look up, be retired, have a beautiful family, and, you know, businesses that are lucrative, and, you know, come back, do what I can for the church and the community, and, you know, be in the same position that you all in, just to give back. So that's the biggest thing that I'll say right now from those two questions that I have.
That's awesome. Coach, I want you to say a word to the parents who may have kids, the high school boys who think about being recruited, going to college. I want you to say a word to those people right now. Some of these guys in high school who think about going to college. What would you say to them?
Ooh, that's a touchy one right there, because every parent thinks that their baby is the next Jody Burrows or Odell Beckham and all that kind of stuff, man. And they put a lot of stress on these coaches. These high school coaches are not only I know I can speak for the DeKalb County and Atlanta Public. These coaches teach and coach a football team, whereas I know in other counties they are allowed to just do football only. So my suggestion is, take, like I mentioned before, take control of your son's career, but also at the same time work in cohesiveness with your coach. A lot of times I hear parents saying, well, the coach not getting my son this, and my coach, well, hey, how about you send his highlight tape out? How about you reach out to some coaches and stuff like that? You can always, I tell, it's something that, me and Desi talk about. I always say, outwork your platform. So I'm not just gonna do what the coach is saying to do. I'm gonna go far and beyond. I don't care if the college coach is like, I'm tired of your parents calling. I'm tired of you calling and sending me. At least you know that you're outworking what's going on. The next part I would say is, when it comes to the extracurricular training, just make sure that you guys are, you know, because it's not a credential thing, but just make sure that you are tapping into people who are working in the industry of injury prevention, and allow these kids to really have a break away from the sport. Right now, everything I see kids 9, 10 years old. I'm talking about doing football 365. It's ridiculous, man. Like, these kids need a chance to be kids. I've seen guys get burnt out so early, and I often ask parents when they hit me up about training, like, okay, how old is your kid? And then I ask the kids to the side, hey, are you doing this because you want to, or because your parents? And then they look, my dad or mom, like, let the child have a true passion and a true love for this game, man. And I get it. A lot of us push our peers, our kids, and all that kind of stuff in directions because we are looking to get them out of situations so they can get higher education and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, those are two things that I commonly hear from people around is, oh, my coach not doing this, and that's not necessarily the case. Some of the cases is, are you doing what you're supposed to do? Have you filled out your FAFSA information? Is your child signed up for the NCAA requirements? Have they met the requirements? Have they took the SAT and the ACT? Like, take care of all of the things that you can take care of as a parent and as a student athlete first. Therefore, when it comes time for you to be recruited and that your coach speaking for you, they can speak on you with pride and saying, hey, you know, Michael Grant took care of all his information. He's qualified already. He's already passed this, because this is not the day and the age anymore of you can just be an athlete. You have to be a
No.
student athlete now. You have to have character. You have to really like be a model citizen, a model player these days. Like, there's no more dumb jocks. I tell people all the time, like, how I used to argue with the I call them the normal kids in college all the time. Like, all you do is come to class, eat in the cafeteria, and play video games all day. I gotta go to study hall. I gotta go to practice. I gotta weight lift. I gotta go to study hall again. Sometimes I gotta practice twice. So on top of that, like, how are you taking it and taking advantage of the time that you have? Because there are no more dumb jocks. There are no more just coming in and just being able to play ball no more. You got to be a full all-around student athlete these days, and that's what coaches are looking for. And on top of that, monitoring your social media. I cannot stress that enough. I'm hearing so many guys losing scholarships and opportunities off of what you're putting on social media. It can be a curse, man.
Right.
Like I said, we didn't have these words. Me and Grant didn't have these words of, you know, a fight being posted or something that we saying out of a joke and something being funny, that we think is funny as kids. I'm sure a lot of us would have been in trouble if we had social media back then. But you know, just really monitoring, you know, what your kids are putting out. Also, for those guys out there, monitoring what you putting out, because these coaches are watching. They have social media, they have people monitoring, and you don't want to lose an opportunity off of something that you may think is funny, some you know, reposting something or something like that. So, you know, just taking advantage of the time and really asking questions, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure any coach can tell you, hey, ask questions, and if they don't got the answers, we need to find somebody that can get you answers. And that's why you creating platforms like this for people to be able to reach out to people who have questions and concerns and want to know more about the recruiting process, you know, about this time and all that kind of stuff.
Outstanding. That's phenomenal, man. Mike, I'm gonna let you close it out. You guys have all been phenomenal. Your stories are, I'm inspired, man. I mean, you know, I feel like I want to go to training camp. But Michael, Michael, for the men who are watching, who are just with life and you know, just trying to be fathers or trying to be husbands and business owners and who love sports, would you give a word of encouragement to just the men who are watching, whatever the walk of life may be, single, married, old or young? Just close out with a word of encouragement for the men.
Yeah, man, I just encourage you, man of God, to continue grinding, continue working hard, continue to know that you have value, you have purpose. The God that we serve didn't create no mess. The only mess is when we cease to pursue the greatness on the inside of us. So I know you may feel oftentimes like nobody sees you or you're not appreciated for the value that you bring, but you know, keep grinding. Know your own worth. I say, like we've said before in this broadcast, know what your worth is, and realize that at some point somebody is going to see the value if you keep putting it forward. I think of testimony after testimony of people who almost gave up, but they kept pushing, and then they broke through and accomplished their goals, accomplished their dreams. That can be true. That can be said of you if you don't quit. Man, you're not by yourself in this thing. We all out here grinding. We all want to make it to the next level, but it's all about continuing to push, work hard. I love, like Cord said, tap into that network and do you, man, because you have value and God loves you and he wants to see you succeed.
Hey, man, this has been a phenomenal time. I couldn't ask for it to come better, no sweeter. Mike, thank you, man. Can't wait to meet you officially. Corey, look forward to working with you to do some more. Joy and proud of you, man. Keep grinding down there. Keep going hard. You know what to do. Keep doing it, man.
Who
And
your Cowboys
those
drafting
you've been
tonight?
watching, I have no idea. I just put some on.
Who
Might need
you
them
want?
quarterback.
Who do you want? Who you want?
We need everybody. We need some linemen. We need some. We got a lot of work, but
Yeah,
you know,
y'all need a cornerback for
just pray
sure.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. To all the guys who've been watching, I hope you've enjoyed this segment of Mancave with Hope TV. Hope you've been inspired. You've heard the stories and some of the journey of Michael Grant Jr. and Cora Parks and Jordan Moore, and these men all stand as testimonies that you can achieve greatness, that you can achieve your dreams if you work hard, put God first. So even though we're in some difficult times through this pandemic, believe that you can achieve it. And always remember this: if you be good to God, God will be good to you. You've been watching this segment of Man Cave through the Hope TV. Thank you. Until next time, peace. Thank you, fellas.